Previously on Batgirl. Batgirl pretty much dug out her implant that helps her walk so Joker couldn't control her. The Joker attacked her in her own apartment and they fought for a little bit. Now, Batgirl dug it out, now she's bleeding on the floor. Joker was hit by a knife in her back. They're both bleeding on the floor. But how is Barbara Gordon saved? Who actually saves her? And how does other characters get involved in this Joker War tie-in storyline? In this issue, we start off a three-part storyline called Gordon's Never Give Up. It's centered around the whole Gordon family. We got Commissioner Gordon, we got JJ, and we got Barbara Gordon, obviously, right? So we see that whole dynamic start to brew in this issue. Now, pretty much James Gordon Jr., he actually comes back. Now, on the cover, it looks like he's doing some bad things to Batgirl, which is probably like, wait, is he actually evil in the storyline? Well, no, actually. And we actually saw in the whole Batman Who Last storyline, actually, the Batman Who Last book, written by Scott Snyder, drawn by Jock. Awesome book. Definitely recommend it, guys. But still, in that book, we saw actually Commissioner Gordon team up with Miss James Gordon Jr. So we saw that happen. We saw James Gordon Jr. actually kind of turn over a new leaf. He's trying to become better. And we see more of that in this issue. But yes, how this issue starts out is we see this very weird image. We see Joker dancing with Barbara Gordon, and it has this pink style. The artwork in this issue is actually not that bad. Last issue had problems, but this issue it fits the tone of the book a little more. At least the first page is a little off-putting, but after that it gets better. But what we see in this first page is Barbara Gordon is monologuing. What she's saying as she's in pretty much a pile of blood on top of this rooftop is, I know I would do anything for Gotham, but why dance with the Joker? Wait, isn't that what he said to me, that we were good dance partners, are we? And she's thinking back, when she sees Joker, she remembers all the memories of him shooting her in The Killing Joke, him just traumatizing her, and she remembers memories of James Gordon Jr., her brother, how he was pretty much a liar, he became a murderer, and we saw Commissioner Gordon just say, "You're not my son," and just push him away. We saw all these different events unfold. And Barbara was just thinking about this and how she's actually been dancing with the Joker for so long, just been traumatizing her, how she keeps falling back into this madness. But somebody says, "Babs, wake up." Now, she opens her eyes and she's in a hospital bed. And she's like, "I can't feel my legs. Where am I? What happened?" And then she sees someone. She's like, "Joker!" She throws something at them, right? Just like last issue where she threw something at the Joker and hit him right in the face. But this time, it hits somebody, but it's actually not the Joker. It's James Gordon Jr. And he's like, "What the hell, Babs?" And she's like, "James, JJ, what are you doing here?" She's like, "You're not on my emergency contact list." He's like, "I know." And he's like, "I was going over some stuff with Dad when the call came in." She's like, "Where's Dad? Is he coming?" And he's like, "Yeah, court date he couldn't get out of. You were out cold and I offered to pretty much help you out, save you." And Barbara's thinking, she's like, "Wait, is he lying? What's going on? This guy's a murderer. My brother is a psychopath. Why is he being nice? This is weird." And she says, "I'm sorry, James. I just can't trust you. Everything you do is a calculated manipulation." And he says, "I'm taking medicine. I'm doing CBT. You don't have to call Dad." She's like, "You've done therapies before. They don't work." And he says, "My life is a living hell." And he's like, "I get what all the stuff I did, but I'm trying to change. I'm trying to become a better person." And Barbara's thinking, "What do I have to lose? He knows I'm Batgirl." And she says, "The Joker happened." She's like, "He knows I'm Barbara Gordon. Don't tell Dad about me or the Joker." She's like, "He still doesn't know that I'm Batgirl." And she's thinking, "I have to trust James." Unbelievable. So Barbara's in a really bad position, guys. She's like, "Crap, I gotta trust this guy? Come on, my brother, not really that great of an idea." And then we see the doctor come in, they're like, "What a mess. I guess you're feeling better, Miss Gordon?" And she's like, "Sorry, it was a misunderstanding." And the doctor's like, "I've seen it all, honey. People wake up in hallucinations and they react in different ways, in crazy ways." And she says, "Someone must have wanted whatever it is that kept you walking, but except for your back, you'll be alright right now." And Barbara Gordon's like, "How did I get here?" And she's like, "Kids found you bleeding on the roof. They were high, but they did right by you." And she's like, "I have to get out of here." And then the doctor's like, "You're not going anywhere. Doctor's orders." And James Gordon Jr. is like, "Yeah, no, you're staying here. Listen to the doctor." And that's what Barbara Gordon's like, "James, I ripped out my implant. It could still be on the roof." And James is like, "What? What do you need? You want to get out of here and go get that implant?" And she's like, "How?" And James Gordon Jr. is like, "I can be persuasive." And that's what Barbara says. because he's a sociopath. I'll let him help, but what does he really want from me or Dad? Guess we'll find out soon enough. And she says, alright James, but I don't have time to wait. Clock's ticking. And then we see before long, she makes it back. Pretty much she's coming out of the hospital, and she's like, Joker tried to control my legs, but I did let him. And that's when James Gordon Jr. is like, did you use the wrestling move I taught you to unpin? And she's thinking about this. She's like, no, I didn't actually use that. And James Gordon Jr. is like, hey, you could have used it. I remember those times. We were pretty much siblings. We had great times. That's when Commissioner Gordon shows up. He's like, Babs, are you okay? James Gordon Jr. says, I got the implant. Looks okay. And Barbara's like, Dad, I got mugged. They got me right in the implant. They didn't know. It'll be okay. I'll be okay. James Gordon Jr. is like, I told you this neighborhood isn't safe, sis. And that's when Commissioner Gordon says, what are you doing with Babs? You tricked me into telling you that she was hurt when I had to go. You've done some inexcusable things in your life. But this is low, JJ, even for you. And JJ says, I'm not the one who almost burned down the city recently. And that's when Commissioner Gordon's like, I was affected. And that's when James Gordon Jr. is like, hey, you're getting better, Dad. I have a sickness, and I'm healing too. And Barbara's like, guys, enough. But before you continue, Barbara is pretty much her, what she says to James Gordon Jr. and Commissioner Gordon. Let me just ask something. You're Commissioner Gordon. Imagine telling some people, hey, sorry, I got retired as commissioner, and I'm healing, but hey, the reason is, I'm not crazy, well, I got infected, and I became like a evil sociopath because the Joker, well, not Joker, but this other guy named Batman Louse, which is a hybrid of Batman and Joker. Just imagine being Commissioner Gordon and explain this to people. Like, that'd be a sucky job, but imagine the person hearing this, I'm like, what? That's crazy. But it'd also be hilarious, like, wait, you're a sociopath, but you're pretty much retiring. At the same time, you got manipulated by this Batman Last, who's a Batman and Joker hybrid. That sounds awesome. Now, that's awesome to us, but imagine the person in that universe. That'd be like, wait, that sounds really scary and freaky. But continuing, guys, what we see next, we got Barbara, right? And she then says that, stop talking, guys, and listen to me. And what she says to Commissioner Gordon and James Gordon Jr. is, Dad, I didn't know where you were for months, and then you appear again like everything is supposed to be fine. And James, I get it. You're trying, but one good turn doesn't mean much when you're with your track record. And that's what she says. Don't ever forget that I am fine without either of you. If you want to help me, that I need both of you to get out of my way. I can take care of myself from here. So she leaves, and that's when we see Commissioner Gordon and James Gordon Jr. just talking to each other. And James Gordon Jr. is like, Babs needed me, Dad, and I was there for her. We were getting along. And Gordon's like, at lunch before I had to go to court, you were trying to convince me that things were different this time. And James Gordon Jr. is like, they are. And Gordon's like, you know I have ample cause to be suspicious of your motivations. And James Gordon Jr. is like, you couldn't go to her, and you're mad that I did. And Gordon's like, it was your place, James. And that's when James Gordon Jr. is like, she's family. I'm family. And Commissioner Gordon's like, you lost that privilege long ago by leaving a trail of horror in your wake. Don't mistake our recent shared traumatic experience for bonding. And James Gordon Jr. says, recently I helped you. We worked together as a team. I can do it again if you can give me a chance. And Commissioner Gordon says, no. And James Gordon Jr. is like, but you and Babs can be redeemed for whatever bad things you sow. Commissioner Gordon's like, I'm the good guy, and Barbara, she does good things in this world. Yeah, she does a lot more than just good. Actually, speaking of which, guys, think about this. How the heck does Commissioner Gordon not know that Barbara is Batgirl? Like, how has he not pieced this together yet? I swear, and continuity always changes. It's like, yeah, Gordon does know. No, now he doesn't, just because he can't know. Oh, now he does know, because it fits the plot. Isn't me? Does that happen a lot? Like, in certain stories, it's like, oh, he has to know, because it really fits the plot this time. But then sometimes it's like, you know what? No. Let's scratch that out and retcon it, and then act like he doesn't know. But next week in the next issue, he does know. Like, it feels like it flips back and forth all the time in the New 52 and DC Rebirth before the New 52. It's like, come on, can Commissioner Gordon just know that Barbara is Batgirl? Like, for once, and just keep it that way? Don't change it? Because I feel like that'd be better than him feeling just like, oh yeah, Barbara's just a regular girl who just does a lot of good things. Really? She got shot. She's an implant. She's paralyzed by the Joker. You really think there's nothing connecting there? She knows the Batman, bro. Like, can you not connect that she's Batgirl? There's only one redhead in the Bat family, and that's your daughter. That's what I would say, Commissioner Gordon. Am I right? And James Gordon Jr. says, keep telling yourself that, Dad. And Commissioner Gordon's like, you're a monster. He's like, and James Gordon Jr. is like, I know, but I have to have hope. This time it's different. I know it. I'm not numb anymore. Something's changed inside of me. And Commissioner Gordon says, hope is something every person has to find for themselves. That's not something I can give to you, James. And he's like, meanwhile, do me a favor, stay away from Barbara. And James Gordon Jr. says, fine, I'll stay away from Barbara if you stay away from the booze. If anything happens on your watch, I'll step in and help. Now, what we see next is this regular redhead girl. She's walking down an alley. Now, nothing ever happens good in an alleyway, right? She's walking down, and there's a watchtower in front of her that looks like the Oracle watchtower. And you see this guy just walking up to her, and she says, oh darn it, my hat, I'm going to be late. She drops her hat. And then she's like, thank you, that's so kind. Most people just walk on by when someone is in trouble. That's when this person grabs this redhead, pulls her close, and she's like, what are you doing? Let me go, you're hurting me. And she looks into the person's eyes, and we don't know who it is. Is it James Gordon Jr. or is it the Joker? I don't think it's the Joker. It's somebody else. It's actually probably James Gordon Jr. But still, we continue, and then we see Barbara. She's coming up to that same clock tower, guys. But still, she's monologuing, and she's saying, I have to get this fixed. I have to get my implant fixed as soon as possible. But she's thinking, I don't really know anybody that can help me. And she gets a text from Jason Bard, her boyfriend. And Jason says, I heard you were in the hospital. What do you need? How can I help? Are you okay? What happened? That's what Barbara thinks. I just can't deal with Jason right now. Too hard to explain. I don't know. I don't want to lie to him more than I already am. And she's like, too bad Jason isn't someone who knows me, who I really am. Someone like Dick, or I know exactly who can help me. So she calls up somebody, and who it is Luke Fox, the son of Lucius Fox. And he says, Barbara Gordon, were your ears ringing? I was just hanging back from Burnside. Naturally, I thought of you. And she says, Luke, you're back. I really need your help. It's important. And Luke says, I'm actually here because I got a call from my dad, but he wouldn't tell me what's going on until I could see him in person. And he's like, I'm worried. It feels bad here. I mean, even for Gotham. She's like, it is. And Luke says, Babs, are you okay? You don't sound okay. And she says, look, I really need your help right now. I'll tell you all about what's going on when you get here. Hurry, please. And that's when he says, say no more, I'm on my way. So he travels, and by the way, guys, Luke is actually searching for his father, right? You guys don't know, Lucius Fox turned out the father. He's pretty much has Joker toxins, he has Punchline, all these clowns around him. He's not in a good place. But if you want to see how he actually escaped, then check out my video, Detective Comics 1025 review, where we see Batwoman and Batman rescue him. You can check it out right here in the top right corner. But we'll continue, guys. We see Batgirl. She's thinking about her relationship with Luke and how she's saying, I dumped him. They actually used to be in a relationship, and she's like, I hope he's still fine. I'm not ashamed how I am. I won't be ashamed if he sees me like this, pretty much crippled. And she's like, he's seen me how my implant just taken away from me before. And that's when Luke shows up. He's like, Babs. She's like, hi, Luke. And she's like, right guy, wrong time. And he's like, oh, Babs. And he says, I had no idea. She's like, Joker did it to me again. And he says, I'm here. I got you. It's going to be okay. And she's like, no matter how much I grow, how much work I do, he has this ability to just put me right back in that moment. And he says, no, you're beyond that moment. You're the strongest person I know, Babs. And she says, oh, his voice, I feel better already. Like, everything really could be alright. So pretty much Luke and Babs have a really good relationship. That's what he says, get me up to speed, that's why I'm here. She's like, Joker has control of the city. One Enterprise is under his complete control. That's how he hacked my implant and why I dug it out. And he says, you dug it out again? That can't be a go-to move, Babs. And she's like, it wasn't the right move at the time, trust me. And he says, last time it took you over 6 weeks to recover. She's like, I don't have 6 weeks. And he says, I thought Frankie fixed you so you couldn't be hacked again. She's like, the Joker's in control of Enterprises. He's in everything. And he says, then we better get straight to it. And she's like, look, I'm really glad you're back in Gotham. You're just what I need. And he's like, Gotham or you? And she's like, both. And that's when he says, how's your dad handling it all? She's like, we've been pretty much separated. But I can't imagine that it's not killing him to not be out there to help Gotham when it needs him. Bullock's the commissioner now. And she says, and your dad? And Luke's like, I don't know. I have to go see him as soon as I'm done here. But he did sound like good on the phone. I'm worried about him. And she says, it's not just him. Batman's MIA as well. We might be in bigger trouble than we think. And that's when Luke says, fathers like ours, why do they have to be so complicated? Batgirl says, sometimes I think if my dad had just let me join the force. And Luke's like, but then you wouldn't be you. And Barbara's like, we both forged our own paths, moved out from under their shadows. And she says, Luke and I have always been in sync. I miss that about us. But Luke says, I'm my father's son, but I'm not my father. And Val says, the city being in flux makes it hard to figure out what's under siege or just plain not working. And that's what Luke says, do you wonder sometimes if Gotham's even worth saving? I feel like that about everything, everyone in my life sometimes. And he's like, hop on the table. That's when he pretty much puts on the table, takes out, he starts like dig in, fix her, right? Put that implant back in her. Now she squirms a little bit, and he tells her, hey, don't squirm that much, it makes it harder and actually inflicts more pain on you. And she's like, hey, it actually hurt a lot more when I digged it out. So he starts putting it back in, and finally it's back in. And he says, I'm sorry, you okay? And she's like, oh, I'm good. I can feel the nerves reconnecting. He's like, no joke. There's no next time with the implant. Your nerves won't take to it. And we both know what it means if that happens. And Barbara's like, I know. I don't need it to work forever. Just for now. I'm fine without the implant. And he says, I know you are. And Barbara's like, thank you, Luke. I couldn't have done this without you. And Luke says, I'm really missed you, Babs. And Babs says, look, I'm seeing someone. And Luke says, I'm just glad I'm still one of your go-to guys, Babs. And that's what Babs says, friends always. And he says, always. I'm like, bruh, you just got friend-zoned. Like, seriously, Batgirl just friend-zoned Luke. Like, why did you not notice that? I would hate that. Like, you just saved her. You just pretty much got her unparalyzed, fixed her, came all this way. Instead of seeing your father, you saw her, and you didn't get nothing. All you got was, hey, we're always friends. I would, oh my gosh, that would just trigger. Like, I don't know, would that trigger you? You came all this way, you haven't, your father's in trouble, you don't even go to him first, you go to this girl who, you know is Batgirl, but you're like, hey, maybe I could get something, maybe I could get, get back with her. No, you don't even get that. You fix her, do all this stuff, and she's like, oh, sorry, but hey, we're friends. Like, that would suck, guys. Tell me your thoughts on that down below. Like, would you want to be friend-zoned? I don't think any guy wants to be friend-zoned, especially when you go the extra mile. Like, come on, that's the worst. Barbara is now fixed, right? And she starts to try to put on the costume. She gets text from James Gordon Jr., and he says, hey, sis, remember that trip to the zoo as kids? Just know I'm still that brother. I'm here for you. I'll call you later. And Barbara's thinking in her mind, James Gordon Jr. is desperate to get through at me. Not gonna happen. Something does seem different about him this time around, though. And then Commissioner Gordon texts her, Babs, I signed you up for some physical therapy. Think it will help. I'm sorry I haven't been around. I'm going to change that. And she thinks in her mind, Dad's still trying to micromanage my recovery, when really he should be taking care of himself. She's like, he doesn't look too good. I hope he's not living off of some frozen meals again. And then Jason Bard texts her, hello, how are you? Or okay, maybe you need some space. And then JJ, aka James Gordon Jr., texts her, what the hell, Babs? Answer me, I just want to talk. And Babs from her thinks, you know what, I'll just mute all these messages so I don't have to worry about them. And she says, first is all about Batgirl. The initial jump is always the hardest. She's on top of a rooftop. She takes that leap. It's actually a really cool image, guys. It's actually really dope. And she's like, but it's the one you learn from the most. So she's like, the initial jump is really hard, but once you take it, you learn a lot. And she says the daring to it. Despite the fear, it takes you further. And she's like, it lets you face it, the love, the thrill. And she's just smiling. It's a great moment, guys. I actually really like it. And I'll say one thing, this is where the art shines. The colors look amazing. It shows her jumping down these rooftops. And it's just an awesome image. I feel like it's the best part in this issue. But as this issue closes out, what we see is Batgirl, she's going around the state and she hears like a GCPD report. It says GCPD dispatch, Pomfrey and 4th back alley, Mark Unit 389 en route 10-4. And we see Commissioner Royce just working out, he hears this. And they're like, we got by, requesting backup, stay at the scene, call in special unit. Then we see James Gordon Jr. and he's getting this certain call. It's like, beep, beep, time to take your pills, James. He's like, in a minute. It's like, beep, beep, reminder, it's past time to take your pills, James. And he starts taking his pills so he doesn't become a psychopath again. And then here on the report, as you can see, there seems to be some kind of activity here. The police won't say that what has happened, if it's a break-in or worse. All we know is this is the alley where the body was found. Another victim of violence. Another day in Gotham. And then we see Commissioner Gordon, he's driving. He's trying to find out what is going on. And we hear on pretty much the news, waiting for assistance. Red-headed woman in a bad way. Looks like a possible 187. No suspect in sight. Batgirl shows up to the crime scene and they have the person covered. And that's when this other police officer says, Commissioner Bullock, you're going to want to see this for yourself. And that's what Bullock says. What do we got here? Victim was running? And the police officer says, she was. And Bullock says, weapon? The police officer says, blunt object and strangle you. We found something that might match in the dumpster. We bagged it. And then Bullock says, victim? And the girl says, the police officer says, woman, late 20s, sir. We should call in ex-commissioner Gordon. And then Bullock says, why? I'm the commissioner. You can talk to me. And that's what the police says. This kind of victim is his purview. And then Bullock is surprised. He's shocked. And Batgirl looks, she's shocked too. Then they look down, Bullock's like, I stand corrected, get Gordon on the phone. And we see a dead Batgirl, which is really weird. Imagine seeing your dead self. You see yourself looking over a dead body of yourself. That's just freaky, guys. Which we'll find out who did this next issue, which obviously is that other redheaded person that was just walking down that alleyway that got killed. She's dead, and he was just dressed in the Batgirl costume. Now, was it the Joker, or was it James Gordon Jr.? I think it's James Gordon Jr. because Joker's doing some other things with Batman. Does he really have time to focus on pretty much trying to make like a fake death of Batgirl? I feel like he would do a lot worse, right? And also, one big question about all this. How does this fit in DC continuity right now? Or at least Joker War? Because right now, Batgirl is actually in Nightwing comics where she's trying to escape pretty much Joker, Punchline. Actually, she escaped that, but she's trying to save some kids right now. So how does that connect? You guys tell me down below. I feel like it's a little, this series right now, the storyline is a little like not connected to Joker War, even though it's called Joker War Collateral Damage Tie-In. We'll find out if it all gets connected by the end of the storyline. I hope it does. For right now, it's a little confusing, but still a pretty good storyline. Like, last issue was okay, but this issue was really good, right? I really like the Gordon family dynamic. Like, James Gordon Jr., one of my favorite characters, guys. He's really interesting here. Commissioner Gordon, he's great. Bullock's great. Batgirl herself, see her get back, get her implant back in by Luke Fox, seeing him come back. Another great character, and see her swing in, find out there's another dead Batgirl. It's actually really interesting, and the art's actually way better in this issue. Now, this is the best issue of the series. This is one of the best issues of Joker War. No, not even close to that. But still a solid issue that I think you should pick up. And that's why I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I recommend. Check it out, guys. If you didn't like the last issue, you thought it was a little kind of weird what Joker did, then at least you'll like this issue if you like the Gordon family dynamic. But guys, in the comments below, tell me about this issue. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What do you think about this new storyline? What do you think about James Gordon Jr.? And what are your theories for next issue? But guys, like the video, give a big thumbs up on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe to my next Batgirl comic review, or also my next Joker War video. I release at least one Joker War video a week. You can still do a Joker War tie-ins, the main story of Batman, and all sorts of stuff. It's actually really exciting right now, so you won't miss out on that. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching, and peace out.